Every story has its beginning, its heroes, and its villains. Perfection, excellence, domination. Follow the destroyers of worlds as they awaken. Discover the origins of the evolution universe. Children of the Directive. On sale now. Limited edition hardcover on Amazon and ebook on Kindle. Bet you didn't expect that. Are you ready for some mischief, Valhalla? Welcome! He's the Mad Doctor Adega Outlaw! Like the fire of Stone Loki! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 7 Kinds of Mischief! It's always fun when you got something like, you've got buttons to push back here, and I'm like, Children of the Directive. It's an ad! Holy crap, I'll just play that before we hit the button.
That's an old one. You love doing that.
Yes, I do. I love doing stuff like that. Greetings, everyone. Greetings and welcome to 7 Kinds of Mischief. I'm your host, Stone Loki, and with me today, of course, is the one and only, the only Mad Doctor of Disaster and Destruction here in Valhalla, the one and only Adega Outlaw. Good evening, my
That
friend.
would be me. I'm doing all right. Not bad. It's been a busy week for a lot of reasons. But no, how are you doing? I asked you just a few seconds ago, but things calmed down since the good old rant about let me see, unusually sized individuals trying to take hold of video game industry.
You know what? Anybody who wants to play anybody, I don't care. I do not care. But there's a difference between like, okay, I want to see myself in a game and I'm going to play it that way versus this is the way the character is going to look and you have to play this and you have to deal with this. There's a difference between
you're
like
some kind of phobe.
Yeah, there's a difference between like this forced idea that you have to find this attractive versus if you want to play as this character, you can, but you have all these options. If someone decides they want to do that, I have absolutely no problem with that. But it's when it's like you don't have a choice that I'm like, yeah, no, I'm sorry. There's a reason why Mass Effect Andromeda failed. The women looked terrible. You had chunky cheek like Chipmunk Girl, and the other one had the side half head shaved haircut shit. And you're just like, eh. And she's like, I generally don't trust men. And you're like, yeah, I kind of figure that. Nope.
That one's a little obvious.
Why should I spend, 20 something hours wooing you in a video game when you're like, I generally don't like men and I have a side cut hair shade thing. And you're like, yeah, no. Plus they were butt ugly in that game. So no, I'm just nuh-uh. And the main female character looks just like Anita Sarkeesian. I'm like, yeah, no. Mm-mm.
Why was that not surprising?
When she went in and talked to them about the game,
Yep.
yeah. Why is
Yep.
that not surprising? Hey, we're gonna make our female character that is an absolute knockout in real life. I want to tell you guys something. The basis for her, she was like the human being that did all the mocap stuff and the what they based the character on. Absolute freaking knockout. And then you see her in game, and it's like, hi, and you're like, no. So it's not fun to play as a dude because your two options, if you play as the brother of this chick, you've got two options that are like and chipmunk, and then you've got if you play as the chick, you've got she looks like ass. She looks like rotten butt. So no wonder the game failed and people weren't interested. Go back and play the first one. You've got two. If you're playing as a guy, you've got two absolute knockouts to choose from. Absolute knockouts. Two gorgeous women to choose from. If you like Caden, if you're a chick and you like Caden, you've got a great guy there. If you are a girl and like girls, you've got an Asari, a blue Asari goddess to choose from. And then they do crap like that, and you're like, no. And look what they did to Alloy in the last game. I'm just like,
That'll be people to pick up the pieces and make better games, so that's all right. They're self-defeating.
Pat S, if everyone in your group is dyeing their hair blue, you ain't original or radical. No. Nope. Damn straight, brother. And hello, Leia Rose. We've got a couple of people in here to say hello to. Pat S, good evening. Leia Rose, hello. Chris Persha, the Wrench of Wrenches, is here. Grim, what's up, my brother Grim? How are you doing? Lady Mist, the Guardian of the Void, is here. Hello, Lady Mist. Good evening. We got Claude Sailing. How are you doing, Claude? Good to see you. Psychodorf 9. How are you doing? Good to see you. Dave Bob's here. He says no baseball game tonight, so I get to watch live. Thank you, Dave Bob. Thank you, Penny.
That's his priorities.
Hello, Penny. It's so good to see you, Penny. Thank you. Thank you for popping in here. Brian Dawes, what's up? Brian Dawes, how are you doing? Firing it up.
It's been a while since he even mentioned it.
There's an Adega in the chat. An Adega Outlaw.
Yeah.
Holy crap. So besides talking about video games that, I mean, shit, I don't want to play.
Right.
You know what? I've got before we get into it really night, I just want to say this. I was trying to say this morning. I don't even remember if I got this out completely yet or not. They did like a study about content. Right now, if you don't count like YouTube or anything else, if you just count television and movies, you have 2 lifetimes of entertainment. If that is all you did, morning to night, is watch movies and television, there's enough for 2 lifetimes. You don't have to watch this new stuff. You don't have to watch what's coming out today. Games, there are a plethora of games to choose from. I just got another Metal Gear collection for I think it's PS3. I've got the Japanese version of that comes in that beautiful metal tin. I've got the Xbox 360 version. I have enough games that I can play games forever. And that's not even counting my Steam library. I've got 1,000 titles on Steam I can play.
So why don't you tell us what your hobbies are?
Right? I recently dived back into Evil Genius 2, and I've been playing through that as a different character. It's something I haven't played in probably a year or two. I picked it up. I've been playing that. There's so much you can play and do that you don't have to worry about any of this shit. But they don't want you to know that, and they don't want you to feel like that. They want you to buy, consume, new. That's what they want. And Rob Thunderheart, what is up? Rob Thunderheart, Give me just a minute. I have got to pull up a super chat for him that I apparently missed this morning. So sorry about that.
Dean Krantz, hello. Sean Estep, hello. It's
Rod
good to have
Thunderhut
you all here.
said destroy woke programming this morning. So thank you, Rod Thunderhut. I absolutely agree, brother.
It's just like any fire. You don't give it fuel, it'll eventually go out.
No, exactly. Destroy woke propaganda. Thank you so much, brother, for that $2 super chat. But yeah, no, that's it. I will dust off Sullivans and Straddles every so often. Great pre-World War II movie with Veronica Lake. I was watching, I want to, really quick, let me pull up this chick. I want to show you something that's going to blow your socks off.
All right. Yeah, that's true, Dave Bob. Disney is closing Galactic Star Cruiser.
And you got to remember,
it is done.
This is in the 90s. We're going to talk about that tomorrow, Dave Bob. Thank you for bringing that up. So we've been watching Hercules, right?
Okay. The old claymation stuff?
No, the Legendary Journeys.
Okay.
With Kevin Sorbo. Check this chick out.
Yep.
She was Miss Olympia. But we don't have strong women.
Right.
Strong kick-ass women in the 90s. And she makes a joke. Here she is like arm wrestling against Hercules. She makes a joke about clean living. How did you get so strong? Clean living. Look at this shit. She's got Hercules like holding him up above her head. But out of this world, badass chick. Nobody says anything negative.
Well, now there was quite a few. There was martial artists. There was the Xena thing. They just didn't pay attention.
Yeah, they just didn't pay attention. Yeah. Look at it. Look at Kevin Sorbo's face. He's like, damn. It's like, no shit. I got big arms, but damn. Right? I mean, it's just.
Yep. He's thinking, just don't hurt me. Don't hurt me.
Just don't hurt me. Miss Olympia. She was Miss Olympia. So, people forget about strong chicks that they didn't put up with shit then, but now that's not what this is about. This is about nasty people acting nasty and wanting to get away with it because, hey, you know what? I look like Thunder Thighs McGee. So I'm going to be nasty to people and I'm going to act like my shit doesn't stink. You know, she's like, you know, how did you get so strong? Clean living. I busted my ass. I worked my ass off to look this good.
There you go.
How did you get that? How did you get on the thing of Dove soap? I ate 500 McDonald's cheeseburgers and all their nuggies. I ate all the nuggies. I stole all the nuggies from Fat Steven and ate them all.
All your muscles are in your elbow and your jaw. You know, that's true. That if you look, it's the vast majority, almost 98% of people that have arthritis will not have it in two places, their ribs and their dominant elbow, because they're always putting food in their mouth with that dominant elbow and the ribs are always moving. So in other words, the more you move, the less arthritis those joints will get.
That's right.
Just how it is.
I'm busting my ass with Paulie every Tuesday and Thursday.
Good. So, good.
Oh yeah. It's not just bend your leg this way or that way. No, there's some. And he's like, it's just gonna get more. He's like, it's gonna get more intense from here. So make sure you're doing these every day. And I'm like, I am.
Good. That shoulder will get better too.
Dude, I want to tell you something. I was laying down. I was laying down on my back, and I had my arms over my head. And Eris came in and was like, "Oh my God!" I was like, "Yeah, let me tell you, I can't fully. I gotta like grab it and pull it up when I raise it above my head but it's there. I can get there. So
told you so.
And all because of
Very rarely I
Adega.
will say that. Or very rarely will I say that, but I like saying it to you.
All because of Adega. Adega's the one that was like, okay, do these
You're the one working
exercises, do
out.
this.
I'm
Yeah, but
1,200 miles away from where you are.
you're the one who was like, you can get it. You can get more range of motion. Just do this. Just do this and do it like this. You are the one who did that. I'd pretty much given up. I could point, but I couldn't stretch my arm out completely and point forward. I could like have it at an angle and point forward. That was it. I couldn't lift my hand above my head. Now I can get my elbow above my head. All because
Awesome.
of Adega
Nah,
and his
you got to put in the
encouragement.
work. It doesn't happen. I've seen failures, a lot of failures of people that just say, Doc, you're supposed to fix it. And I says, well, I'm trying to, but you have to help and go home and do your homework. And people won't do their homework and blame me. It's nah, that's not how it works. So it's always nice to have someone that actually will do instead of just complain. So that's
Well,
awesome.
I don't want to take pills for anything. I don't. I hate the fact that I have to take pills every morning and at night for, the diabetes.
Yeah,
The
we'll get you past that
diabetes.
too. We'll get you past that.
What do we got for
Yeah.
tonight? What do we got for him,
Well,
Charlie? A new car.
it was a last minute thing, to be honest with you. I've been thinking of a few things, but I have been I've been asked to be on a few streams this week. It's been a little busier. Like last night, I was on Zach's. You guys know Zach's. Go back and listen to what I did there. I was on 32 Flavors. Um,
Oh, how's
but
Nick Weiser doing?
he's doing really good. He has a great show. I like the guy. Um, but there was last time when I was talking about the Thule and some of the Yahtzee stuff. And a couple of years ago, I had talked about the Vril Society. I'm going to put everything together and then read to you from their own documents of Vril. I read about the Thule, but think of Thule as the religion that started the downfall of consideration for humanity in Germany back at the turn of last century. And they were the ones who started the Yahtzee party. And part of their belief is a thing called Vril, where the Vril Society started basing itself around it. And the reason what they did, and you can go back, I'm sure it hasn't been taken down. When I talked about the Vril Society, they did some really horrific things to people. And the reason being is twofold. The first one is, and it's the more prominent one nowadays, and this is why we have so many kids that disappear off the border for various reasons, or anytime there's a natural disaster, the children end up missing. There is the belief in certain groups, and I'm going to be vague about it because I don't want to hurt the channel, that the main deity is good, and their objective is to do everything to destroy the main deity's purpose. So they go for the innocent in any way, shape, or form, whether it be reading stories while dressed up like idiots with things sticking out in this end or the other, mutilating people in the hospital and preventing them from having children, and having the other children disappear. That it's half of it. The reason why they do that for, let's call it satanic purposes, but the other part of it is another way that they devalue human life is a thing called Vril. And I'm going to read it to you from one of the authors of Vril, or Vital Magnetism. And you will see how it applies, because in the idea of the Vril Society, which I mentioned, it was over a year ago, that these practices are meant to strengthen or elevate the people who participate in it, but at the expense of the life of others, or even their sanity, or torture, various different things. But this is the nature of Vril. This is their very first lesson. In the arcane teachings, the term Vril indicates the universal principle of vital energy, life force, or vital magnetism, as it is sometimes called. The term itself is believed to have had its origins in the language of the ancient Atlantis. Now, see, this is where you can see their mythology goes off, because they say this comes from Atlantis. And if they have texts about that, it would have to be someplace in the Vatican or someplace hidden that we don't know of, and somehow they got a hold of it. But anyway, traditions holding that the Atlantean root vri, meaning life, is the source of the word vril. The latter expression, the idea of virality, principle, or life energy. This original root term is believed to have influenced similar elementary terms in Sanskrit, and through this, the great source of tongues, the Latin, from which our own language is largely derived. In many languages, we find words indicative mainly vigor, energy, virility, which undoubtedly owe their origins to the original Atlantean root term vri, from which our term is derived. In the ancient Greek, we find the term veros, meaning hero. In the Sanskrit, we discovered vira, meaning a hero. And in the ancient Irish, vir, meaning a man. The Gothic wir and the Anglo-Saxon wer, each meaning a man, as well as the Latin word vir, meaning a man, which our terms viral or virility originated. Also appears to have been derived from the Atlantean word vri, or life. It was very natural to identify this concept of man with life. In our own language, the term virile and virility indicates life force or vital energy, particularly in the sense of procreative power, the usage of these terms being out of the above stated theory of the origin. Bulwer, who was well versed in the occult traditions and terms, used this term vril in one of his novels to indicate the mysterious form of energy employed by a newly discovered and highly advanced race of people upon whose doings the story was based. It is almost certain that Bulwer borrowed the term from some of the ancient occult writings, and it goes on to talk about a little bit more of the origins of the word vril. In Persia, mysticism, glamour is used in the same sense. Hindu occultism, they find the word prana serving the same purpose. Mesmer, there's several other things where it talks about human magnetism, animal magnetism, virality magnetism, all of it meaning that there is some sort of energy in life. In the arcane teachings, I'm going back to the text now. In the arcane teachings, then, the term vril is used in several senses, generally and practically, as well as we proceed. I guess it's a translation error there, sorry. In the first place, vril is held to be a great cosmic principle of very fine energy permeating all forms of matter and immanent in thought processes as well, being employed by the principle of mind in its work of thinking. But vril is not identical with mind. Mind is held to be a prior manifestation of the infinite. From the mental principle, you arouse vril and the grosser forms of energy, and then the forms of matter fine gross. In this original sense, vril is preceding to be a great universal principle from which proceeds the multitude manifestations of activity. Vril, in the phrase of existence, cannot be defined any more than any universal principle can be defined. We have no words with which to define or explain it. It is only when we descend to the consideration, I've never seen that word before, of the manifestation that we are able to explain or define it in our own terms. And basically, there's a couple more paragraphs, but I won't go into too much detail. But basically what they're saying is that there is a life force to matter. Higher matter has more of it, and the intelligent matter is full of vril, and harnessing vril gives you power over the universe. So taking vril from other sources, whether it be subatomic or life forms, can add to your own vril and your own power. So in the vril society, and those who are descendant of it who now exist, and the reason why we have a lot of children missing, use the life energy and life force of others for their own power. And then a lot of them actually believe it. And that's why it still continues today. Um, but this is a principle where you saw it, all these different previous manifestations of Greece, different ones, the ones that were um, at those times performing human sacrifices or tortures or various different things, all in one way or another, were doing it thinking that they were gaining power, whether it be from a deity or from pulling it through this real supposed substance. Um, so anyway, I wanted to give you a little bit more background of the vril, and it's very disturbing. But believe it or not, there are people that practice this stuff still today, and it's fairly obvious when you do a little bit of digging. So there you go.
All right. Thank you, Adega. All right. So I'm going to read you guys something here. It is called Gateway of the Mind. In 1983, a team of deeply pious scientists conducted a radical experiment in an undisclosed facility in northern Wyoming. The scientist had theorized that a human without access to any senses or ways to perceive stimuli would be able to perceive the presence of God himself. They believed that the five senses clouded our awareness of eternity. Without them, a human could actually establish contact with God simply by thought. An elderly man who claimed to have nothing left to live for was the only test subject to volunteer. To purge him of all of his senses, the scientist performed a complex operation in which every sensory nerve connection to the brain was surgically severed. Although the test subject retained full muscular function, he could not see, hear, taste, smell, or feel, with no possible way to communicate or even sense the outside world. He was alone with his thoughts. Scientists monitored him around the clock as he spoke aloud about his state of mind in jumbled, slurred sentences that they couldn't even comprehend. After 4 days, the man finally claimed to be hearing hushed, unintelligible voices in his head. Assuming it was an onset of psychosis, the scientists paid little attention to the man's concerns. 2 days later, the man cried that he could hear the voice of his dead wife speaking with him. And even more, he could communicate back. The scientists were intrigued, but were not convinced until the subject started naming dead relatives of the scientists. He repeated personal information to the scientists that only their dead spouses or parents would have known. At this point, a sizable portion of the scientists abandoned the study. After 1 week of conversing with the deceased through his thoughts, the subject became distressed, saying the voices were overwhelming. Every waking moment, his consciousness was bombarded by thousands of voices that refused to leave him alone. He frequently threw himself against the wall, trying to elicit some form of pain response. He begged the scientists for sedatives so he could escape the voices by sleeping. This tactic worked for 3 days until he started having severe night terrors. The subject repeatedly said that he could see and hear the deceased in his dreams. Only a day later, the subject began to scream and claw his non functional eyes, hoping to sense something in the physical world. The hyper-hysterical subject now said the voices of the dead were deafening and hostile, speaking of hell and the end of the world. At one point, he yelled, "No heaven, no forgiveness," for 5 hours straight. He continually begged to be killed. The scientists were convinced that he was close to establishing contact with God. After another day, the subject could no longer form coherent sentences. Seemingly mad, he started to bite off chunks of his own arm. The scientists rushed into the test chamber and restrained him to a table so he could not harm himself. After a few hours of being tied down, the subject halted his struggling and screaming. He stared blankly at the ceiling as the teardrops silently streaked across his face. For 2 weeks, the subject had to be manually rehydrated due to his constant crying. Eventually, he turned his head and, despite his blindness, made focused eye contact with the scientist for the first time. He whispered, "I have spoken with God, and he has abandoned us." Immediately, his vital signs stopped. There was no apparent cause of death. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a story called Gateway of the Mind.
I've heard that one before.
Have we done that one before?
I don't think we have, but I do know that story. I don't remember when. Maybe we did it before. I don't think so.
I know
It's been
we
a
did
long time, but I do.
the Russian sleep experiment.
Yeah, it was one of my first ones. Everyone really liked that one, but that one's like still. I don't know if that was true or not.
Let's see.
I think it was
Actually-
embellishments of something that really happened, but I don't know.
Let's see. While many stories have clear influences from older folkloric traditions, what makes the Russian sleep experiment story so unsettling and horrifically plausible is its proximity to the truth. Whilst many words and articles have been dedicated to debunking this myth, it is simply a fact that similar horrors have indeed been committed by governments on their own people, and that these incidences were undoubtedly influential in the formation of this particular mythology. By suggesting that the events recounted took place in the late 1940s, and with the addition of black and white and period photographs, the authors and posters placed these fictional events within the same decade as the real-life atrocities of the Holocaust. While the sleep experiment narrative might seem far-fetched in most contexts, with most readers questioning the ethical and moral validity of such research, they remain within the realm of possibility when one considers that similar and perhaps greater crimes against unwilling subjects were committed in the name of advancement during this period.
Yep.
Though exaggerated to the point of monstrosity, the photograph of the Halloween prop Spasm skirts the line of being plausible when one is reminded of the photographs of the near-starved victims of the death camps under the Yazis. In a deeply disturbing way, the hollow cheeks, sunken eyes, and blank stares are nakedly reminiscent of real-life footage and images from the time. Furthermore, when one considers the forced experimentation and medical research performed on unwilling subjects, including the disabled by the Yazis, most infamously by Dr. Joseph Mengele, who, for example, saw fit to stitch pairs of living twins to one another, it becomes clear why readers have a hard time dismissing the story offhand. The Russian sleep experiment remains one of the most impactful and haunting stories, not only because of the effectiveness of its fiction, but because it skirts a little too close to the horrifying truth.
So they're saying it was false. Like I said, it seemed like it was embellished a little bit, but
they're saying it's very possible. I don't think they're dismissing it at all because of the posters with the guy who's wearing the masks. Those are 1940s. Yeah. That's a picture from the 40s. That is. They've got pictures of the interior of the lab. They do. It's just what exactly are we looking at? Did this really happen? Was it embellished? It could very well have happened. It's something the Russians would have done without any second
Right.
thoughts. They
Right.
were trying to
And
do everything
something
the
most
Axis were
nations have
doing.
done. The
Yeah.
Japanese did it. We did it. We're doing it. Um, yeah, no, there's some horrible people. There always have been.
Hey, Bob
Anyway,
says, I think we did that one before, Loki. I bet I did. It was a short one. So, didn't Megala go to South America after the war? I thought they tried him at Nuremberg, didn't they?
I don't know everyone. I'm not sure. I know some of them escaped. Mangala. Um, I'm thinking he committed suicide in jail before he was able to be punished. I may have him mixed up. I'm horrible with names. But I know one of the real baddies was um, somehow someone snuck in a way for him to kill himself before he went to face his sentencing. And it was his final act of defiance of his captors. But
Yeah, he did. Evading justice. Okay. In January 1945, just so happens I have some of this on tap. As the Soviet
Yay.
Red Army advanced through western Poland, Mengele fled Auschwitz with the rest of the camp's SS personnel. He spent the next few months serving at the Gross Rosen camp and its subcamps. In the final days of the war, he donned a German army uniform and joined a military unit. After the war ended, the unit surrendered to U.S. military forces. Posing as a German army officer, Mengele became a U.S. prisoner of war. The U.S. Army released him in early August 1945, unaware that Mengele's name was already on a list of wanted war criminals. From late 1945 until spring 1945, he worked under a false name as a farmhand near Rosenheim, Bavaria. From here, he was able to establish contact with his family. When U.S. war crimes investigators learned of his war crimes at Auschwitz, they tried to find and arrest him based on lies told by Mengele's family. However, the investigators concluded that he was dead. U.S. efforts to arrest him forced him to recognize that he was not safe in Germany. With financial support from his family, he immigrated to Argentina under yet
Oh,
another
there it
false
is.
name in July 1949. By 56, he was established in Argentina and felt so safe that he obtained citizenship as Jose Mengele. In 1959, however, he learned that West German prosecutors knew he was in Argentina and were looking for him to arrest him. He immigrated to Paraguay and obtained citizenship there. In 1960, Israel intelligence agents abducted Adolf Eichmann in Argentina and took him to Israel to be tried. Correctly guessing that the Israelis were also looking for him, he fled to Paraguay. With support from his family, he spent the rest of his life under an assumed name near Sao Paulo, Brazil. And on February 1979, suffered a stroke and drowned while swimming at a vacation resort near Bertioga, Brazil. He was buried in a suburb of Sao Paulo under the assumed name Wolfgang Gerard.
Wow.
They did
He dodged
discover
several bullets.
in 1985, they did discover where his body was buried, and in 1992, DNA evidence confirmed that it was him. He eluded arrest for 34 years and was never brought to justice.
All right. I had the wrong guy. You were right, Pat. You nailed it.
Yep, Sao Paulo, Brazil. Run, run, run.
Yeah, that's where a lot of people think that Hitler ended up too. I'm one of the ones who believe it, that he did not take his own life but escaped.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And went to South America. I heard that
Yep.
too. All right. Well, I think that ends it for tonight. I know we're ending a little early, but thank you guys so very much for being here. Thank you for hanging out with us. We love getting to do these little get-togethers on Thursday night. I really appreciate Adega taking the time to do this, and you guys for listening. So thank you so very much. We're gonna
Thank
get out
you
of
very
here.
much. I know my week has been busy, and so no real excuses, but hopefully we get to understand some of the people that have been and we're dealing with now, because these groups never really did disappear. They're still going, just they hide a lot better than they used to.
And hello, Jester Starth Arlena. How are you doing tonight? Hope you're doing well.
Hello.
Good to see you, Arlene.
The voice of Deetno's unit teacher.
The Deep South. Or is that Arwen?
No, that's Arwen. No, Arlena did a commercial for me too. And she played the voice of an AI.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yep.
Heck yeah. That was awesome. That was absolutely awesome.
I may have to play that one again sometime, get it back into circulation.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, thanks everyone for being here and indulging us and listening to dark stuff.
Let's prattle on about dark stuff. See you guys next week, guys. Take care. Be excellent to each other. Always speak friend Anner. We'll see you in the morning for the weekend review with the Rooster Day Bob and the lady, Arwen Avalon. Take care, everybody.
See ya.
These videos are tremendous. Like, comment, and subscribe, and hammer that notification bell.